more than one of my teachers have made the point that faith is the greatest healer.
You know, I was in a pre-med school program at University of Kansas, and
We have about 3 or 4 different, or 10 different varieties, and you can try them all, or one, or whatever, to feel better.
And the third one is deep in the skull, where
our main tool is to ask probing questions that help the person dig into themselves and find their own answers.
There are 10 to 15% of women who have virtually no symptoms except cessation of menses.
And the reason that I've been getting into the natural healing is I want people to be able to maintain their health and also be able to regain their health.
Plato said that to sing well and to dance well is to be well educated.
I'm both a body worker that works with the physical, but also I do energy work and combine the energy healing with the physical work.
The medical model was based on Taoism, and they looked to nature.
Hello and welcome to Health, Healing, and Happiness. I'm Will Michael and I'll be your host. Health, Healing, and Happiness is a show intended to bring to Helena people, practices, and practitioners that contribute to the health, healing, and happiness of each of us. This evening we're pleased and honored to have with us Matthew, I don't know why I'm calling you Matthew, Patrick Marsolek. You've been a frequent guest of ours and it's nice to have you back, and you've got a brand new book to talk about, so we'd love to hear about it. And but for those folks who, perhaps few folks who haven't met you or aren't familiar with you, why don't you give us a little of your background and then we'll go into the book in detail.
Oh, that's great. Well, actually I have a brother named Matthew, so it's,
right,
that's
I know.
okay. Well, I have just been interested in consciousness and, you know, kind of our capacities and what we can do with our awareness for many years. So I've been a long explorer of hypnosis and different states of awareness. I teach classes on that. I'm a hypnotherapist and a teacher, and I've also been doing a lot of research and work with intuition and working out in the field with archaeology and psychic archaeologists, and a little bit with forensics and paleontology, and a lot of just hands-on curiosity and learning for myself, as well as teaching classes and, you know, how people can develop those sensibilities and sensitivities. And so this book is this kind of a product of those explorations of my own.
So why don't you hold up and show our viewers A Joyful Intuition.
It's called A Joyful Intuition, yep. And the subtitle is How to Access Your Inner Knowing for Health, Healing, and Happiness.
Great. Well, fits in very well with our show's theme then. So let's talk about, I mean, I don't know if everybody, I'm sure people have heard the word intuition and have a general sense of it, but let's hear from you. What are you talking about when you're talking about?
Yeah, it's, you know, just a kind of a classical definition is any kind of knowing or perception that's without the use of the 5 senses. So any kind of direct knowing or awareness that we can have. But it also applies to more like subconscious or lower level kind of conscious processing that happens that sometimes brings things into our awareness. So you may have a gut feeling about something, and you may have information that you perceived at an unconscious level, but then suddenly shows up in your awareness. But just to be clear, that information can come through means that really, in terms of science, we still don't really understand, can't really give it a definition how we're able to perceive things intuitively. So you can know things, you can have, you know, discrete bits of information that you can understand that you never really had contact with through your senses or through hearing or through knowledge. And that can inform your life, can become something that guides you, or, you know, that can inform you in a meaningful way and guide your life in some way.
Right. So perhaps people are familiar with to me it's like the 6th sense, or when I was young they used to call it ESP, extrasensory perception. Is that all the same kind of experiential source of information?
Yeah, I would say those are all similar. Those are all names kind of naming with the same source or the same ability, and that is that we seem to have access to things that are larger than ourselves.
Right.
And extrasensory just kind of speaks to that. It's beyond the senses, an ability to perceive something. So, a common experience of that most people have had at some point in their life is what we would call a gut feeling about something. Or you may have, a knot in your stomach when you're thinking about meeting someone or buying a house or buying a car or walking down an alley or something like that.
Right.
That there's a heightened level of sensitivity to something, some kind of information that's coming in. And as I said, it could be you're subtly perceiving something that's actually physically perceivable but not recognizable consciously. But it could also be just something that there's no way you could know. Something about this path that you're about to walk. There's a feeling that some part of you, some people say it's a precognitive kind of knowing, that there's a part of you that knows where you're going before you actually go there. And that's why you get that gut feeling in your body.
And I think for the sake of, I think basically your book suggests this is something we can develop.
Yep.
I mean, I think there's a common perhaps perception, or at least some people perceive it as, some people have this ability and some people don't.
Well, and I would say from my experience, there's definitely some people that really have it in spades from birth. For some whatever reason, there are people that call themselves psychic, if you want to say that.
Right.
That definitely seem to have some gifts and some talents. But you might think of it like an ability to play music. Some people are very talented, seem to be able to pick it up and do it easily. Some people are not. That doesn't mean if you don't have the talent, you can't learn it. You just may not be as gifted as somebody else. And then intuition is similar. And I think a lot of the learning how to access your intuition is more about unlearning beliefs and patterns of